Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Let's take a look and see what Bitcoin is doing. So, overnight, we had a very good pump here. I posted in Sin City Crypto, forgot to post on X, but basically, I was saying that if we get the golden cross in the 1 hour, which we did, more than likely we're not going to get a discount. And sure enough, price just left, just kind of took off. Um, so I was expecting this if we got a golden cross. Now, if we would have fallen here and not gotten that golden cross, then that would have been like I would have been expecting a discount somewhere in here. But because we got this golden cross, this is obviously what Price wanted to do, right? So that being said, let's go back to the daily. So at this point, guys, honestly, um, it's up in the air. So what I mean by that is we are now at a point in our liquidity, the last time I checked it, where we're starting to dive into that 62K pool, right? We're kind of seeing resistance off of what was our high? 62.81. So that's close enough to 62.109. Now there's a chance that we fall off here. Not below 57 just yet, but this could potentially be our high. I would love for us to get to like 62,472 today, at least touching this 21 MA. But just know we're kind of coming close, in my opinion, to an end to our journey here, at least for the week. Um, what's going to be very interesting is I want to see us consolidate now within this range of 61,124 to 62,109. If we can do that, that gives us a much more bullish sign that we have a chance of our continuation going up. Okay. I don't want to see us hitting these areas and just completely falling off. That's what I don't want to see. Um, so that's kind of what I'm expecting for the rest of this week. Obviously tomorrow is a holiday, so really it's going to be very, very low volume already as it is because it's the summer, but also because now we're going to be, dealing with a federal holiday. Um, it's just there's not going to be a lot of people in the market, so just be wary of that with any longs that you take or any shorts. Either side could get railroaded, right? So looking at our 12 hour, definitely very bullish. We're above the 21. We got the 9 MA curving up here. We're starting to, like I said, get it to a resistance point, which is, we took out this top right here. So that was very cool, which is basically a double top. So that's where people were shorting from, thinking it was going to go down to, probably in the 40s, and it got wrecked, right? If they put their stop up here, they got wrecked. So good to see that that got run out. The next target, in theory, if you're going to be playing the double top game, would be, somewhere around here, I would say, 62,903, so around 63,000. And then obviously taking out all the way up here to 64, 4-ish area. Possibly even taking out this week to 65. But, on the 2 hour now, we have to get above the 200 if we're going to continue this move. Okay, so now we're hitting this as resistance, which is right around, oddly enough, it's right around my, resistance level that I have right here. So we need to see the 21 curving up, just like it did with the 1 hour, get some consolidation within here, and then blast off if we're going to continue the move. We could very easily get rejected right here because we already took out this top, okay? But it's really going to depend on, what the rest of the week is going to do. When I say being rejected, I don't mean a violent move down. I mean, it could be a decent move down. I do think that we're going to stay above weekly open at 59,846. But just know that there could still be some more consolidation down here, saying up 60,189. If we do go to the downside, I don't expect a dramatic move just yet. I think we are going to stay above weekly open for right now. But again, you never know. That from a timeline perspective, from what I've tested and what I've seen, we're going to stay above weekly open. That's almost, I'm pretty positive about that. So, um, taking a look now at the 1 hour, you can see we could come down, touch the 21 possibly. It's going to be very interesting to see what the rest of the week holds for us. I'm not, I won a pretty decent trade from last night. I did take a long from around 60,200 because I saw that there was some liquidity there. There was a tiny speck of it, and we came down, hit it, and just launched. So I made a really good profit when I woke up this morning. So I'm not in any rush personally to, or, I might not even trade the rest of the week. It depends on what opportunities are there. But, um, this week has been amazing. I mean, it's followed, my model. It's followed the rules really well for my bullish setups. So really enjoyed this week. Taking a look at the 15 minute, there's a potential that like I said, we come down. I would love for 60,189 to hold at the worst case scenario. But ideally, like I said, we stay within this range. The 61,124 and 62,109, and we just kind of consolidate in here if we're going to stay bullish. All right. Let's see what else is there. So we've got the 15 minute, dropping down to the smaller time frames. You can see we're kind of started going parabolic. Getting that rounded top now, so not looking the best. Let's go ahead and let's drop into our liquidity and see what that's doing. So looking at liquidity, and I am on the least aggregation at one. I have all of my pools checked off. So guys, you can see that, unfortunately, when it comes to the daily, we have a long ways to go before we can get up to where there's some liquidity. I mean, once we get up here, there's a potential that we could have a very violent move, even up to 85. But we have a huge gap, to fill with liquidity, and there's just not a lot of concentrated liquidity here. Not until you get into 67 range, which definitely is possible, but you'd have to have price just completely ignore all of this space here. Usually you want to see some sort of bridging form or something, but there's just nothing right now. And we have this area of overhead resistance that's 62 between 62 1 and 62 3. So not the greatest sign when it comes to trading different on the daily. Looking at your 4 hours, so your 4 hour, let's go ahead and do that aggregation here and get rid of some of these. All right, so your 4 hour, I'll do is do it a little bit here. Let's see. That's decent. So it does say that we have some legs to run if we do the additional aggregation. Um, let's leave it at one and see for right now. So, you can see we've kind of taken out majority of this green liquidity here, um, which if you zoom in is red. There's not a lot until you zoom in. So zooming in, it shows that we could definitely, come up and just start taking some of this out. But, from a zoomed out perspective, bigger picture perspective, it's showing that there's not a lot to get us up there. There's not a lot of bridging to get us up there, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. I mean, there is definitely a possibility that as long as we consolidate for a while and we don't just blast up, that we could definitely, start seeing some more liquidity in here and starting to get some more bridges. But just keep in mind that that is, kind of the concern that I have is we could be kind of nearing our top for the week at least, and hopefully not for the month, but it could just be for this week. Taking a look at our 1 hour. So our 1 hour, let's see here. Um, yeah, you can see we kind of hit that 62,140, which is kind of where I've been targeting. So that was a great spot. We do have this little speck of liquidity around 59,300, it looks like. So I would probably expect for that to be taken out sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, that would take us below the midnight weekly open, but that's a possibility, as well as like 60,700. So ideally, we just take out the 60,700 and just consolidate in here, but there's a chance that we drop down here. Um, I would love for us to not lose weekly open, but there's a possibility. Let's take a look at the 15 here. So 15, and as you can see, trend is still showing extremely bullish, so there's a chance that we get a violent move still today. Um, Definitely, if you guys have been in for a while, might be not financial advice, it might be a decent time to take profit or move your stop up. Um, this next resistance point is going to be probably harder to break than we've seen in the past. Like with the 59,000 area, some of the 60,000 area, 61 area. Um, 62 is going to be a very strong resistance point. So it's going to take us some consolidation probably to get through it, if we are going to get through it. Even, Kiyotaka, which is our free order book here, it shows that um, there are some, orders still up here, but there's some building down below, right, around 61,250, and even further. So if I were to take my fib tool here, Yeah, I mean, you can see we bounced off of 60,142, so then maybe hopefully we can expect one from here. So maybe 60,527 around here. And we'll take a look and see with the aggregated liquidity if there's a spot that shows right here. But maybe 60 around 60,527 we can hopefully get a bounce if we're going to continue those lower highs. And consolidate from there. I'm hoping that this could hopefully hold if we do drop below 61,000. Um, Let me check off 25x. Yeah, so 50, what about 100? Yeah, see how 100 just kind of lines up with that right above it. So I would be first targeting 60,515 if we were to drop. And then, not ideally, but we could potentially target this as well, right down to 59,000 even. So just know that there are some, obviously some liquidity bridges forming down below. It doesn't mean we have to go and get them just yet, but at least this is showing up now. So um, let's go into the 5 minute here. So the 5 minute, let's see, as you can see, let's see here. So 5 minutes shows that we can have a lot more legs here, guys. I mean, if we can really hold this level and get above it, it could just explode over the weekend. Again, like I've been telling you guys, I would be extremely, extremely careful shorting this market. You have to think too, like, I don't expect us to get below weekly opens, so, even if you were to short right now and expect, some profit, let me just see here. Yeah, I mean, you'd probably have to have a pretty big position size to even get a decent amount. So I'm thinking like we stay above, 59, these 59 levels here. So even from here, I mean, that's only like a $2,000 move. So you'd have to be like really high positioned and high leverage. It would be very risky, especially in such a violent uptrend like this that we're having on the meso time frames. So, again, I'm gonna, say this again because this is what I'm seeing in the charts, but micro and meso are still looking bullish to me. It's looking like a really good sign on those time frames. From the 4 hour below, basically. The bigger the time frame gets, though, as you start getting into the daily and the weekly and whatnot, I'm still not, you know, bullish just yet. I want to see more consolidation, more follow through. I want to see us keeping some of these key levels that we've surpassed now, like 61, 124. So I can't really be bullish on those timeframes yet without us starting, without seeing more consolidation on those bigger timeframes. Um, so anyways, guys, that is what I have at least for, trading different in our normal liquidity heat map. Let's go ahead and drop into the simple map and see where we're at with that. So let's take a look at that real quick here. All right. Wow. So taking a look at our simple map, this is very interesting. So you can see, I mean, this lines up with what I was saying, right? On our, basically our smaller time frames, our 5 minute, your 15 minute, etc. Your hourly, you have all of this to the upside. This is, multi-millions of dollars here to the upside. So definitely more than right below us, right? So it gives an incentive to at least take some of this out. Hopefully we can get up to maybe, I don't know, maybe to this node right here at least 62.3. It kind of has this little spike up after that. Um, Hopefully we can take some of this out before we start heading back. So this is a really good sign, guys. I mean, this is we haven't seen this in a long time for Bitcoin. Where we have our highest liquidity right above us. So that's not a bad sign right there. And then obviously on our swing time frames, like I was saying, you're now starting to get into here, which is a decent sign, and you have some potential liquidity above, but thankfully we don't have that much below here. We don't have that much liquidity to bring us down below, but below, once you get to 57.4, you get 55.2 million and all of these other, multi-millions of dollars in here. So, we could get a little slight move even to 63,000 it looks like, on the bigger time frame. This hill will probably be harder to climb up unless they really want to push it over a low volume weekend, which it, definitely could happen. But, I would expect some resistance along the way up here. Um, But that being said, guys, I mean, it does look very good for the time being. It's just, do the question I have right now for the bigger time frame like the daily is, do we have enough liquidity to really drive us up, to these other areas like 67,000, for example? Do we have enough smaller time frame liquidity, which it looks like we have some, but do we have enough in the market maker's eyes to really drive us up? So that's the true question, and we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, guys, that is what I have for you this morning. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later. Take care.